Hey, Eric here from 5minuteinvesting.com, and today we're going to talk about compound interest. Now, you might be wondering, why is Eric even talking about compound interest? It's such a concept that has been advertised, marketed, or discussed for so many times around the globe, and is there even any point to talk about compound interest anymore? So I just want to use the time to go through some of the counterintuitive things about compound interest. What is it? Why is it? What do people say about it? And what you really need to focus on to make sure compound interest is working in your favor as much as possible. So, what is compound interest? Now, to explain compound interest very simply is just letting your money grow. So let's say you put $100 in your bank account and you earn 10% interest, okay? So after a year, you get $110. Now, the next year, you leave it in there and you invest $110, so then you get, instead of just $10 of interest, you get $11 of interest. And then the next year, $13, $15 the year after. So it just keeps growing, and the money, your money is continually invested in the markets or in whatever vehicle you choose. And that's really what compound interest is. Now you can go Google the formula. It's not that complicated, and there are usually some calculators online that you can use to estimate what your portfolio would look like 5-10 years from now. So why do people want to use compound interest? Because money grows faster and faster and faster. That's really the reason. So what did Albert Einstein and Warren Buffett say about compound interest? So Albert Einstein, the famous scientist, actually said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And Warren Buffett actually uses compound interest to grow his portfolio, and one of his famous quotes is somewhere along the lines of, a lot of people want to get rich, we just want to get rich slowly. And when he said that, he's actually referring to compound interest and allowing time to do its work. And actually Warren Buffett has a book called Snowball, and that basically talks about compound interest. So if you want to pick up a book and want to read about Warren Buffett's investing strategy, then Snowball will be a good start. So how can we use compound interest as much as possible to your benefit? So when you look at, to really understand how to use compound interest, you really need to look at the graph of compound interest. And the graph looks something like this. Okay? This is a very conceptual graph, but what you can observe here is, let's say you start here with $10,000, the graph is going to curve up. Now that is the most important attribute of the whole concept of compound interest. Now why does it curve up? It's because as you invest and reinvest your money grows at an exponential rate. So to illustrate that in numbers, let's say you grow your portfolio at 30%, which is what I usually aim to grow my portfolio at. Then if you invest 10K, in your first year, you're going to make $3,000, which is 30% of 10K, which is not bad, which is quite a good return. Now, if you leave this 3K in there and you let it grow again, next year it's going to be even higher. And 10 years from now, if you make 30% again on your portfolio, you're actually going to get 25K. And that is way higher than what you get first year. Now, do you understand this relationship and what it really means? You get the most return in the last few years of your compounding curve. So that means the more you wait, the more you let your money grow, the more money you have. And that's why when you look at the net worth of Warren Buffett, you will see that compound interest curve. And early on in his life, he doesn't have that much money, but later on in his life, when he's a lot older, he actually had a ton of money because of the compound interest curve. And you really want to take advantage of that curve, and the only way you can take advantage of it is through the 4 things I have listed below. The first one is discipline. Now, a lot of people are going to come back and say, well, I don't really have discipline, and it's so hard to maintain discipline on a regular basis and so on. But if you really translate discipline on what you need to do, what you're really doing is just investing the money into your account, whether it's a mutual fund or managing your own portfolio and try to get 30%, and leave it in there. So don't take it out. So you should have a rule when you invest some money into the market, whether it's stocks, bonds, or a fund, you want to leave it alone. And that's probably the single most important thing you can do. When you leave it alone, you allow time to do its work, and the company will grow, and the company is growing at a compounding rate, assuming you pick the right stock, enter at the right time, and get in at a discount. And if you know how to use stock options, then you will grow at even a faster rate, somewhere around 30%. So when you look at all this, investing is really a long game. It's about having a lot of time, getting a high return year after year, and then letting your money grow, knowing that most of your reward, it's going to come later, whether it's 5 years or 10 years. So if you are planning to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, so you want to think about that today and think about how that is going to grow. And most of the return, actually a majority of it, is going to come in year 4 or 5 or even 8, 9, and 10. So when you have that long-term horizon, then you can really give your investments enough room to grow, because it's going to fluctuate. The stock market fluctuates quite a bit, and this allows you to be a more patient investor. And when you take the long view, you'll actually be more confident, and you can sleep better as well. So that's really all I want to talk about in terms of compound interest. Is a relatively straightforward concept, and you can Google for a calculator. But the most important thing is you want to leave the money in the account, so then the money works for you instead of the other way around. So if you like this video, you can share it or leave a comment below, and let me know if you have any topics that you want me to cover.